Coach, we want to transition now into a really fun segment that we play here with every coach on the podcast called Start, Sub, or Sit. And so what we'll do is we have
Too
these.
Smart for me.
Well,
I need a sub.
Yeah.
Get somebody that knows what he's doing in here.
I think you're more than qualified for this game, Coach. So we'll give you 3 different topics around a theme and ask you just to start one, sub one, and sit one, and then we'll just have a fun little discussion from there. So this first theme for you, Coach, is hard to guard. And these are 3 different types of offensive actions that are difficult to guard defensively. So your start will be the one you think is the most difficult to guard. So start, sub, or sit, screen the screener action, pistol action, or veer screen action, where you're slipping out of an on ball into a pin down screen.
I'd say pistol. To me, honestly, the screen, the screener was very much, we called it T, was huge in China. So I feel totally comfortable on that. You got an answer to that. The pistol action coming out of the Olympics, I thought was a monster to guard. Was really tough to guard pistol, and all the things that you could do out of it.
Yeah. My follow-up then. Yeah. So the veer screen then I guess would be in this case the sub. The veer screen's interesting because going back to the conversation about the pick and roll defense, where maybe you're going to red something and double it. How would you think about guarding, or how would you work through a situation where they ghost out into a pin down and sort of try to solve that problem from the defensive end?
Well, it's the one good thing about what I'm saying in that the veer screen, the Spain action called stack, where the rules off the ball is, you virtually what the screener's doing on what we do. So it is the guy that's guarding the screener stays, and he doesn't care what the heck happens over there. And then all we're worried about is the low guy in the eye, the catch guy. Uh-huh. And so if they set a screen over there or whatever, we're zoning up. We're zoning that action up. Everyone talks about the veer screen. They talk about on the pick and roll, the actions like on shake actions, the back screen action in it, or the down screen, the veer screen, screening that guy. On my low eye guy, and again on that, the guy that would have the veer, the guy that's the lowest, the corner guy would have the high man, and we're zoned up. Everyone takes a giant step to the ball. They go down there. The guy that is furthest removed would have that guy coming off that, and the screener that's going down there, the guy that's in the low would be the catch guy on that guy.
Okay.
I know it's easy to say or whatever, but the one thing that I say to you, the answer I always have to the on ball, if I'm playing this way, if I'm playing in the yellows that we've talked about, it is consistent, and the answer is going to be the same. Now, if you said to me, they're in that and we're in a drop, or we're in that now it's a different beast. But absolutely, with the yellow action or the red action, the low eye guy's got the deepest guy. The guy that's in the corner on the ball side would have that fight through whether that guy's getting picked. And we would be now. I think the last thing that you got to remember on this is, and I probably haven't done it, and I have talked a lot, but I haven't given enough emphasis to, is those things like Spain, like a veer screen, the passer delivering that pass when you're in a high-handed double is like you're doubled, and now a guy's setting a screen away in the corner to a guy in the corner. That's a hard our five guys out, hands up, the guard, ball red. Now you're delivering the ball to a guy coming off a pick. It's a hard play. So the guards got that, we'd say you're zoned up over there. You've got it. The guy that's in the opposite corner is the catch guy. Fight it.
Yep. I love that, coach, on the Veer Screen stuff. I like to actually go back to what you said about the pistol action being, difficult, and how you thought about guarding that 3-man action on that side in the international game.
So the pistol action we did because I found it hard is when a guard, like the ball's coming up hard and they would throw it to a guard, and now the trailing big's coming in that, and he can hand it off. He can, he can flare. He can hand it, flare. He can not hand it and play off the on ball. He can hand it, flare. That guy play off the on ball. It's an issue. So anything guard to guard, we switched.
Okay.
And when the third guy came into that, which was usually the 4 to be on the pistol action, we switched it all. Okay. I'm just saying internationally. So, I mean, all of our alternative was switching. So if there was any guard to guard stuff, so there was that handoff action there, he'd hand it off. That was a switch. And then if the guard came over the top of the big, it was a switch. If the 4 flared, it was a switch. And we would always switch under and protect. We didn't want the rollouts. And the 2 guys opposite were in the high-low eye. Offensively, I like cutting better than screening and tempo. And what I found with pistol internationally, it was usually done at tempo. The guy's coming down, he's crossed the street, he's coming down hard. And all of a sudden, Patty steps up, Joe whips the ball to Patty. Patty's moving towards the ball. Here comes the screen. That movement, that action at tempo it's nice to sit here and say, oh, I switched, it was a monster. Tough. And I find that action much more difficult than Veer or Spain or I call it T, pick the picker. Okay. I find that one a tough one. Domestic coaching, like I'm coaching now, everything that you're talking about, I think it's important as a coach I still do shell. And when take 6 things that your league does, 7 things that your league does, and make sure you touch that 3 times a week. So have a drill where, it's 4, you do 4-on-4 shell, you do side pick and roll, you do middle pick and roll. All right. You do pick the picker. All right. You do pistol. And one of the things in ours right now that's really big, is UCLA. They reverse the ball, take it to the other side of the floor. UCLA, we have shooters. They bring off pin downs on the weak side and they get into side pick and rolls. So, shell that every day, however you're going to guard it. And right now on the UCLA stuff, we're icing it in our thing. So anytime there's a UCLA, anytime there's an Iverson cut, we ice it. But my point to you is in your league, whatever your league is, our league now, those things I just discussed, and the big thing and I saw internationally that I thought was multiple ball carriers, multiple ball carriers in transition and a lot of 5 out. So that defensive transition theme, we're doing that right now with my team, the 1-1-3, back to different deals.
All right, Coach. Our next one for you is now on the offensive side of the ball with the drag screen. The 3 things I'm going to give you, what would be the most important to its success, in your opinion, to successfully executing or running a drag screen? So the timing.
Tempo.
Okay.
So I think the hardest, if you said to me, oh, you're asking this. Sorry.
Yeah. There's a start subset for it. Yeah. I can't wait.
No, go ahead. My bad.
You're good, Coach. I mean, because one of them is the timing, tempo, the location, or the angle of the screen. Start, subset, what would be in the order most important?
A drag screen to me is, and I think the thing that's all this talk that we've done about ball screens, the hardest ball screen. And I say, I have Justinian Jessup, your hardest to guard. Post players, your hardest to guard when? Your hardest to guard on the push. There's no cover down if you're a post player, if you get the ball in tempo on the push. If your shot, you're hard to locate if you can get ahead of the ball. Now, on ball defense, all that we've talked about, yellowing is hard as shit to do when you're running a drag screen and you're coming in there at tempo. So to me, when you say angle, when you say, if you're in the half court and you're running on ball and angle, timing, but if you're talking drag screen to me is you're doing that thing on the fly, and it's with momentum and it's quick. And I think the number one thing on a screen, now the secondary part of it is that the separation is more important than the screen. So when you say screen, let's take right now when you watch, and I've been international basketball, the NBA. Here comes the on ball. I'm a guard. I'm guarding you. I get up when I hear the pick. I get up and I get into you. Right. I'm going to get up and I'm going to close that space and I'm going to get up onto you. Now let's say this screen's flying down the court and I get up and get into you now and crowd you. And now I'm pushing you as he crosses half court and starts heading towards the 3-point line. Now I'm going to start heading, over, and I'm going to push this guy and try to get over the top of it. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So now think about this. You're guarding me and I've got the ball and I'm a good guard. Get the hell out of there. No, I've got my driving lane. I've got this guy on my hip. I've got a driving lane to the rim. So Capella, back when I thought Hart, when they were at their, that guy never set a screen. He took one step towards the screen. Harden's got that guy on his hip, and they do it. I think D'Antoni has different than everybody else, does it better than everybody else. Forget this, and it's interesting. You go and I was at something, and I don't want to say who it was, but a disciple, and very, very smart on this subject matter. And I'm sitting there, and this is what he's saying. He's saying, hey, man, forget, everyone's saying 2-foot stop, your angle's here, get over his shoulder, 2 hands over your, chin on your shoulder, get out, take 2 steps towards it. You see that guy change his angle on the dribbler, get out of there. If you said to me on a drag screen situation, and that's what we're discussing here, I think that you want to take a run at, as soon as you see that guy get to that, and he's got to do that you're out of there. You're either to the tip of the rim or you're gone. And now the guard's got his driving lane. If it was a stationary situation where he's coming up and he's doing it, then your angle coach, like you said, like I always, your butt cracks kind of pointed to the corner where the sideline. So your job as a big is you don't want that guy to go under.
Yeah.
So now I've walked the ball up the court. Now your job, a lot of times when you're running, let's say middle pick and roll it, if your butt crack is pointed to the sideline, now that guy's going to go under or he can slip through. So the angle of the screen, like you said, is very important. Now I want to go and be in a position that he cannot go underneath the screen. And the guard wants to take that ball down and work opposite and get the ball below the line of the screen and now bring that thing over. Yeah. And now again, my once that guard is in that position of trying to fight and get on your hip and push it one way, I want to separate.
Get out then. Coach, my follow-up is just, I guess, with the location of the drag screen. Is there a preference of where you want it set? If the guy can get it at half court, the sooner the better, or do you want it to set where he's coming off in a scoring area?
That's a great two scenarios. If it's 5-on-5, and you're at and I don't really call that a drag. When you ask me a drag screen, I want to say there's momentum there. I get shitty with my guy, but if I'm walking that ball up the floor, now location is important, and I don't want it. I want to take that ball down and get it deep and walk that screen down and come off that thing, just outside the 3-point line. And let's say I'm coming down on my left hand and bring it back. That's the hard part in a good guard, is getting the ball from one hand to the other. But when it's at its best, it's when the defense is not under control, not set, and you're coming. So, I get an outlet. I'm on the sideline. I'm coming toward my butt's towards the sideline. I look over my shoulder. I'm trying to get that outlet as deep as I possibly can. And it's a front pivot and it's a long dribble. And I'm trying to get a piece of the center circle so I'm not stuck on the sideline. And once I get into that alley and I'm moving, that big is coming in and he's laying it on me. Now and that's as deep. That should be deep. And sometimes I call it a butt rub. I'm just dribbling right off that guy's butt and he's hooking and going to the front of the rim. I think that's hard to guard. And then the package with that to me is now I'm a 5. And we say to our 5, if you're behind the ball, sprint and do just what I'm saying. And now if you're ahead of the ball, now you want to you want to come towards half court, high hands. We can throw it to you, or you step up and crack that guy. Yeah. And we want that thing near. So you either got to step up or a drag screen on the run. We want those as deep as possible. And coach, the closer to it that again was asked, and you guys talked about the subject matter that I thought was great, was counters. And a simple one for the national team was, okay, now we were playing NBA and Patty Mills had come off and Green would switch and Litter to take, K down to the block, no advantage. Litter strong as a bull, nothing there. Green is into Patty's grill, got a high hand, nothing there. And we're taking one dribble coming across half court. We haven't thrown a pass. We're spreading. We're playing one-on-one. They're 13 up at halftime. And you go, this is ridiculous. So the counter at halftime, no more on ball. Do the exact same thing, but pass it to the screener. And after the game was over, the comment, we came back and won that game. And the comment it wasn't about winning the game, but it was an eye opener leading into the tournament, was simplistic clarity again. And number 2 was that now all of a sudden they made a comment. They cut us. They cut us to pieces and what happened was by doing that, now you became a cutting team. Mm-hmm. So now in the half court, we ended up with 4 or 5 passes before we got to the point. And that was a timeout and just the adjustment, no board, no anything. Step ups, shakes, no on ball, pass it.
Just because you've mentioned it a couple times and the counters, and just quickly on that subject, your thoughts on in-game counters versus say a counter that you want to put in, after practice or after a game, like things that you look at on the fly, maybe say at halftime that you have in your package that then maybe you want to go to in a second half or whatnot of a game.
I think the big one obviously is on ball, defensively and offensively. They're in just what Coach and I have been talking about now. They're in drops, or they're trapping everything, So traps, they're in reds. You want this. They're in drops. You want this. Defensively, the same. I always have something in my pot, like what I've talked to you about. I want to pump. I always get excited when with 2 guys like you and we start talking basketball. I could go. You can tell I could go all night. I'm all energetic, and you're gonna have to cut 2 hours of this shit out. But you know, and your fist is pumped and you're in here going, we're trapping, and, the low guy's flying off there, and you get to the game and everybody's, you've been on the road, you get in there and they're running in mud and you go, this is BS, ain't happening. What's your counter? And you got to have something again, switching, green, plugging, 1-1-3. I'll do that. I've always got a zone in my pocket on the defensive end. Hey, you come into games sometimes and you go, no. And then I said to you, my offensively, I do a lot of cutting before I get to C5, middle pick and roll, or a lot of cutting. Ball goes up, one man's to the front of the rim, 4 back cuts, 2 dribbles up, reverses to 3, 2 cuts, 3 cuts. Now you're in shakes. So I'll do stuff like just, like rim cut. Well, cutters. Now we come into a game and you're and you look and you go, they don't have it tonight. They're running in mud. So when you say counters to me, specifically for they're defending this thing a certain way. Okay. So they're helping from here, put 2 guys on the same side, don't have corners filled. They're dropping on the on balls. All right. So now the screen is important, and we want to pop and we want to dive the high guy in the alley and, play with the corner guy. It's just have that terminology that they know. It's not a play on that. Okay. Yeah. Drops this, but we know coming into a game, hey, coach, they're yellowing, they're showing. Okay, coach, sure. They're in drops. Okay, so we're this. Hey, we're not cutting tonight. We're not moving tonight. Straight C5, cutters blues out. Okay, let's go. We want to stay away from on balls. Let's go the 1-1-3 and trap the corners. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes when you go 1-1-3 is what I'm saying. They can make it so they move the ball twice and they bring the 5 up, and you're just guarding middle pick and roll again. Yeah. Or you're in a drop, or okay, let's run the 1-1-3, but we want to stay away from the on balls. We don't want to fly around so much. So let's trap corners. Let's trap the 45. Those would be, Coach, my kind of changes, deals, general like that, as opposed to plays, this play, that play. I'm not overly a play guy.
Coach, a lot of great stuff in there. We got one more start sub sit for you before we move on to the last question. So this last one here is themed stats that matter, specifically when you're looking at a box score or stat sheet at halftime, and you're going into halftime and you're looking at the stats of what matters to you most. So start, sub, or sit, these 3 types of attempts from the offensive side of the ball: free throw attempts, 3-point attempts, or 2-point field goal attempts. Start, sub, or sit, stats that matter.
For my team right now, it would be free throw, then 3-point, then getting to the line. Really important for my team right now, getting the other team in foul trouble, and 2-point ones. The other one, we want to spread the floor and get threes. But I think getting to the line of the 3 things that you said would be the one I'd look at the most.
Coach, with that, if your team's not getting to the line, let's say the amount that you want, then I guess, and then maybe tying back in the counters and things like that, what are the types of conversations at halftime you would have, whether it's running things a different way, whether it's just being more aggressive, getting to the rim to get those free throw attempts up?
Spacing in attacking, like it used to be, we'd run something, and again, how the game's changed. It's so funny that now you're, getting the ball to a 2 side, you got the 3 side, you got the high alley. And instead of just reversing the ball to the corner, get your shoulder down and let's start getting our feet in the paint and attacking the paint, as opposed to running a cross pick and rolling it into Bogut. and saying, let's get it in there. Cause that's how I've coached most of my career. And now it's usually, you got to get deeper spacing. We got to get that ball from one side to the other side of the floor and attack the paint. And I'll find a lot of times when we're not getting to the foul line, we're jacking shots on the first side of the floor, which is common in this game. I think too, you got to be careful. Yeah, we want to get threes up, but we don't want, pressured threes on the first side of the floor. And it's amazing how often that's a problem. Just what you're asking there, it's a constant. And then the flip side of it, and the last one is on it. The other one I always look at is turnovers. Because now when you're getting the ball to the second and third side, are you turning that thing over? Because that's the next sin. Yeah.
Coach, with the free throws, I guess, is there a certain marker in your head if we're at halftime that you think, we should be getting to the line this much, or is it more we're like getting to the line more than they are?
Getting to the line more than they are. And I'll say why. And I don't, what was really, and I don't want difficult in Australia and where I am now is the games different where you play. And it was the same in China. I'm not saying but the refereeing, you feel the game out. Some games you play and you can have two hands on the guy's back in the post. You can have an arm bar, an arm on a guy's hip in the back, in some places they call it really tight. So it's not where I'm being internationally. When we were at the Olympics, it was, I don't care who you were. If you put a chest on a guy and showed your hands, you could ride him into the bleachers. And it could be the best play. It could be Kevin Durant. It could be Luka. You cry all you want. Popovich could be no advantage to anybody. That was the rule. So then it's when you have a situation like that, to me, now it's you. We want to get to the free throw line 12 times, 13 times in the first half, let's say, depending on how your team plays. But when you're in a thing where the officiating is different on each night, sometimes, 10, they're just letting it go tonight. We just want to get to the line more than they are. And then sometimes they're calling it really, really, really tight. So 16 is good. So in the first half, so it's different, but what does remain the same is they're calling it accordingly for both teams. So your comparison in this would be the other team. In the international, there would be a target. We want to get to that. We want to get to that 14, 15 times in the first half. We know that's good.
Real quick. And coach, is this something you would emphasize maybe pregame or in the shoot around with your guys? Like, kind of
style of play. What you're talking about there, coach, is style of play. Okay. Style of play. All right. A style of play. Yeah.
And coach, my last quick follow-up here is, we gave you 3 different things on the box score, but is there anything that is not on the box score that, let's say you have someone on your staff keep track of, that is really valuable to you and your team, whether, deflections or something like that, more of a hustle stat?
It's, I have a coach here that's, and he's really helped, like right now, passes. I know again, it's not for everyone and it's not for every team I've coached, but as I'm evolving into 5 out and change, I think as a coach, when I stop, I'm near 70. If I'm coaching like I was when I played, forget it. You've got to evolve. And the game has changed tremendously in the last 5 years or in the last 4 years. And so now, to me, cutting, there's some sort of feedback that lets me know. And sometimes it can be play calls. We ran cutters 10 times in the first half. If I'm running C5, I'm not cutting. And cutting is important to me. So that's something and then passing. And it's funny. I mean, 2 years ago or whatever it was, the Warriors, they were, and I'm not saying we're the Warriors or what, but ball movement, if that's your God, if that's important to you, then passing as opposed to dribbling. Yeah. When you talked about prior to this dribble penetration as an offense, then what I'm saying isn't as applicable as how we're trying to play now. I'm trying to cut. So if I'm trying to cut, I'm saying I don't want to dribble so much. And if I don't want to dribble so much, my offense is passing. So in ours, cuts, passes, and turnovers. If you said 3 things that were applicable over the last 2 or 3 years that are numbers that we take in.
Great stuff, Coach. Well, Coach, you're off the start, sub, or sit hot seat, so that's our last question for you. Thanks for playing that game with us. That was a lot of fun.